This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good morning, everyone. This is the kickoff of the inaugural Rimon Advisory Pre-Yamim Noraim Yarchei Kallah. And as we've mentioned, the Rimon represents doing many mitzvahs. We're mispalel she'nirbe zechu yosenu k'Rimon. And this is what we're hoping for. It's in preparation of the Yom Hadin. You know, it's very interesting. If you look at L'David Hashem Oyer V'Yishi, which is it's a minhag to say this perek in the Chodesh Elul, every single letter of the Aleph Beis appears in L'David Hashem Oyer V'Yishi except for one. There's no Gimel in L'David Hashem Oyer V'Yishi. What's the pshat? Why is there no Gimel in L'David Hashem Oyer V'Yishi? So the explanation is as follows. You know, in L'David Hashem, the main focus is the request of David HaMelech. Achas sha'alti me'es Hashem oisa avakesh. One thing I ask of Hashem, this is what I seek out. What is it? Shivti beveis Hashem kol yimei chayai. To be able to sit in the house of Hashem, to be able to understand and reflect on HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is obviously a reference to Limud HaTorah. Achas sha'alti me'es Hashem. Why do we focus on Achas sha'alti me'es Hashem in Chodesh Elul? You see, during this month of the year, what's on our minds are the scales. Mitzvahs and Averos. And we know, according to the Rambam, the way the din works is Hashem weighs all of our mitzvahs, all of our Averos. If you have more mitzvahs and Averos, you're written and sealed for a good year. If you have the opposite, you know, chas v'sham. And then if you're 50-50, so then you hang in the balance. So we're doing everything we can to try to tilt the scales. Right? We want to tilt the scales in favor of mitzvahs. So there's amazing Gemara in Brachos. Gemara in Brachos asks, there's a pasuk in Parshas Balak, Kinecholim nitayu ka'aholim nata Hashem. So it compares tents to streams. The Gemara says the tents are the tents of Torah, and the streams are streams that could be used as a mikvah. So Gemara asks, what's the comparison between a stream and a tent of Torah? Says Gemara, just like a stream could take a person from Tumah to Tara, the tent of Torah can bring a person from demerit to merit. Okay? So when you learn, it could tilt the scales in the side of the favor of merit. Okay? So Chafetz Chaim asks, what do you mean when you learn, you could tilt the scales? When you do any mitzvah, you could tilt the scales. If you help an old lady cross the street and you're doing a chesed, you could tilt the scales. When you visit the sick, you could tilt the scales. When you lend money to someone in need, you tilt the scales. You do shiluach hakein, you could tilt the scales. What, only learning could tilt the scales? So the Chafetz Chaim says, yes. Why? Because the Chafetz Chaim says that when Hashem is evaluating mitzvos versus averos, yes, certainly it's qualitative, but it's also quantitative. And there's a certain avera that we have to be most concerned about, and that is Lashon Hara. Why? He says very simply, let's say a person kills someone. How many people could you kill in one day already? You know? Let's say some of the big averos. Don't try them. But even if you did, how many could you do already? But Lashon Hara, every word is a separate sin. So if you sit and you chat on the phone for 3 minutes, and the Chafetz Chaim made a calculation, in every minute you could speak 200 words of Lashon Hara, that's 600 words. How many old ladies are there that you could that need to cross the street to overcome that? There are not enough old ladies in the whole continent of Australia to overcome 3 minutes of Lashon Hara. So really, there's only one way to tilt the scales, the tent of Torah. Because each minute of Talmud Torah, you could learn a few hundred words, 200 words. So 10 minutes is 2,000 mitzvahs. Shachris was only one mitzvah. Shachris is the mitzvah of Shachris. Tefillin is the mitzvah. When you're done with Shachris, you got the mitzvah of Tefillah, the mitzvah of Talis, the mitzvah of Tefillin, Birchas HaTorah, Shema, Sechiras Yitzias Mitzrayim. Okay, how many? You got maybe, yeah, the better you daven, qualitatively your Shachris is more valuable. But it's Shachris is Shachris. But the Gra says, Talmud Torah, each word is a separate mitzvah. I always wondered about this, because if I help an old lady cross the street, I'm not, that's not my, or any other chesed you could think of, isn't every step another mitzvah? The answer is no. Every step is expanding the mitzvah of helping the old lady cross the street. You hear? In other words, all the efforts that you put in doing a chesed, it expands that one ma'aseh mitzvah. Talmud Torah, each word is considered a separate mitzvah. So they asked Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky, there's a lot of svarim nowadays that are very wordy. Not mine, chas v'shalom, but some of they're very wordy. They could say like one idea in like 5 pages. So what? Each word is a separate mitzvah? So Yaakov Kamenetsky said, no, only if each word was written with exactitude can we say that each word is a separate mitzvah. So asked Rabbi Yaakov, what's an example of a sefer that we're confident that each word that you learn is a separate mitzvah? He said, what?
Chumash Rashi.
For sure. Chumash Rashi, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Every word of Rashi. He said even Mishnah Berurah. Said Mishnah Berurah. Meaning that's like a later sefer that we could still say every word. So, therefore, in the month of Elul, even though there are many mitzvahs and we have to try to do as many as possible, and Gemilas Chasadim is, of course, one of the fundamentals, but especially this month. Achas sha'alti me'es Hashem. There's one thing that we're going to put our focus on, maybe even more than any other mitzvahs, and that's Talmud Torah. Achas sha'alti. Now, Gimel, the Gemara says in Shabbos, stands for Gemilas Chasadim. And there's no Gimel in L'David Hashem V'yishi. To emphasize, in this month, Achas Sha'at doesn't mean not to try to do Gemilas Chasadim and Tzedakah. Of course, they're important, but to emphasize this idea. So this is a very beautiful hachana for Chodesh Elul, and we're better than in the Rimon advisory. That the advice of the Rimon is Nirbe Zechuya, saying when you see a Rimon, it's reminding you Talmud Torah. So with that, let's begin our subject. We're going to try to break it down into a number of parts. As you see, there are 8 parts of this subject. We'll see if we do all of them. I definitely want to do all of the main parts. So part 5, 6, and 7, we'll see if we do 5, 6, and 7. We'll see the time allowing. But for sure, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 8, whether it's going to take us till next Tuesday, it doesn't matter. We got to do these parts, but we'll get you out by mincha time. But let's focus now on part 1, which is on. I want you to focus on pages 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and also I want you to take a look at page 28. Okay, and if you that will be the first segment today. Okay, so say in about 20 minutes we'll reconvene, and we'll focus on some of the main points here. But here we go. Okay, thanks.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.